Hey everybody, it's Courtney coming at you guys. This is going to be a story time. Um, Something really heartfelt happened the other night with my son, and I will tell you like the backstory of everything leading up to him coming in my life. And I always wondered why me? I might get a little bit emotional, but if you have children out there, this would be awesome to try. Because children can remember so much of their past lives until they get a certain age. And then after that age, they just have these visions of possibly reflections of those. But up until a certain age, they can remember. So maybe you can try this on your child and it can bring clarity as to why they come into your life. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my life or my situation when I had my son, and then I'll let you listen to the audio because I actually recorded my son when he was telling me about his past lives. Now, you might hear one of my friends in the background because one of my friends had came over for a reading that night, and it was so crazy because my friend had witnessed this. And yes, I did bawl my eyes out, and yes, this made so much sense. So if I get a little bit emotional with this, just bear with me. Um, so I was 17 years old. And keep this in mind because this is important. This has a lot to deal with the key of the story. I was 17 years old and I had joined the military. And I come from a great family, but a rough life. Okay. So when I was 17, I graduated high school and I left for the Army. And I get through basic training, I get through advanced individual training, AIT. And of course, in basic training, you have to go through the gas chamber. Keep that in mind, okay? So it was the gas chamber that you could quickly get out of. So keep that in mind. And I had the choice to leave and get out of that gas chamber for this training. And then I graduate basic and AIT and I go to my duty station, which is in Fort Stewart, Georgia. That's where I went. So I also had a past life in Georgia, and that's why I went to Fort Stewart, Georgia. It was near Savannah because I was a slave in my past life. So that's why I went to Georgia because actually my duty station was outside. It had a cotton field outside of it, and me and this one girl, we have went to a plantation one time to pay our respects before I even knew that I was a slave in my past life. So it's kind of crazy how things unfolded with that. But let me get back on track. So I get to Fort Stewart, and, you know, I was a very sheltered girl. I met his father, and his father was military police, and we kind of met off Facebook at the time, which I don't even have a Facebook now, but um, I'm German. His father was German. And I was like, okay, we'll have the perfect German baby. But I didn't even plan to get pregnant. This is the thing. Now, sometimes when or before you get pregnant, your body's like saying, you're going to have a baby soon or you're going to get pregnant soon. And, I was just like, yeah, I'll get pregnant when it's time. I'm not going to be careful because I was a very sheltered child. And I didn't really think that I would get pregnant that early into my career in the military. Well, they called me down to this meeting, and they're like, females up against the wall, males up against the wall, separate. They're like, females, we're about to get your anthrax and smallpox vaccine because we're going over to Ramadi, Iraq. And keep that area in mind. And um, I found out that I was the only one that was pregnant. And no, his father did not stay with me. As soon as he found out I was pregnant, he just went and married another woman. And so yeah, I was a single mother. I went through a lot emotionally, and I always wondered why would I be a single mom? And the crazy part about this is, I hate getting emotional, but it's a part of my life. I went to a fortune teller, and this is what made me who I am. This is why I want to help people. So she was like, "Who is your cousin that passed away of a tragic death?" She said, "I'm hearing the name Gary." And yes, I had a cousin named Gary who passed away of a tragic death. And she said, there's something about a little boy. And she said, "Honey, you know you're going to have a son, don't you?" And I said, "No," because at that time I was pregnant and I didn't know what I was going to have. But this was told to me before I even went to her. Okay, and I forgot to put this in the video. When I found out I was pregnant, I had always had visions of having this sweet little boy. And I always thought that, I want this little boy in my life. I want a little boy. And when I was told I was having a little boy, that was just insane. Now, mind you, that after I had my son, I could never have another child again. So just keep that in mind as well. So after I had him, it was done. I had a hysterectomy and I couldn't have no other children. So this child saved my life and she helped me embrace my gift. And she was like, there has to deal with the number 5 that brings great changes to your life. Well, my son was due on October the 8th, but I ended up having him on September the 5th, which was my passed away cousin Gary's birthday. So that was very sentimental to me because I did love Gary despite anything. He was one of my older cousins, my mom's age type cousin. Well, I found out that I was pregnant and it saved my life from going to Ramadi, Iraq, which I had no idea about. And if I would have went to war, I would have served my country. Being pregnant was not my scapegoat because I didn't even know that I was going. I mean, heck, I was fresh onto the base. I didn't even know that as soon as I got to base, I'd be going to war. So I found out I was pregnant. I had my son on September the 5th. And the other night, I've always wondered why me. I couldn't have had the proper upbringing for my son because I know a little boy needs a father, and I've been single and I don't have no male figure for his life. And you might hear my friend talking in the background, but that's just my friend. But I want to let you guys know what he had told me. And this is changing my life. So I hope that you can hear this audio because I'm going to turn it up all the way. And I want to let you hear it, and I might stop and pause it along the way so I can give my commentary on this, okay? Keep everything I told you in mind.
25th February 1946. And guess what day is it? What? Oh, wait, I was about to say it's 5th February 23rd. So 2 more days until that day.
He said 2 more days until that day. He's talking about it was February 23rd, and he was talking about February 25th or February 26th. This was in his past life, okay? And I hope that you all can hear this.
All this happened to you in that time period? Yes. I found out this on YouTube. This kid got born. It was like 2 years old. He told his mom that he knew his past life. Yeah, and I'm trying to help you look at yours and see what's going on. Because he said he knows who killed him, and they found the body of him. He said this place is where I got buried. Okay. And they found a body. That's where you were the kid on TV with. No. What? Where? What? Are you? I was on YouTube. Okay. So, what about you? You said all this dream with the Soviet Union and stuff. Like, and you're telling me this time and you're saying you got stabbed. Is that when you got stabbed? Probably so. And they were coming after you?
Okay, so I will let you know about this part. My son starts off into telling me his past life. He said, Mother, he said, I have these dreams of Russians chasing me. And I said, Really? I said, What did they look like? He said, They had these black furry hats with this red marking on them. And he looked up this picture and he was like, it was like an Eskimo hat. He looked up this picture just like that. He showed me. Yes, it was a real Russian hat. It was from the Soviet Union. And this is where his story unfolds. He said, Mom, the Russians were chasing me. And he said, I have dreams of this. He said, I was stabbed to death. And listen to some of the stuff that he says.
What colors did you wear? Or did you know what you looked like? Did you feel like you had dark hair or light hair? I felt like I had dark hair. I was like 16 or 17 by then. I was thinking.
He said he had dark hair and he was 16 or 17 when this happened. Now, if you listen to the beginning of the video, he states out some times, and I have went back and yeah, there were 19 surrounding this Soviet Union in this invasion. And also, he was 28 years old when he died. So when he was talking about him being a teen, like 15 or 16, yes, this was believable because he had died at 28. Listen to this.
Marine blue something.
He said that they were wearing some type of blue. Guess what? I looked up this stuff, and if I can post pictures later or insert some type of pictures, I will show you what they were wearing at the end of this video.
Did it have any numbers or shapes or color on it? It looks like a circle with stars on the side.
Okay. He was saying that the color or something that had a circle with stars on the side or a moon, he said later on. He said it's like a moon with stars on the side or a circle with stars on the side. I looked this up and you will not believe this.
Thing that goes like this, you know? Yeah. And like a big star. Okay. Well, I think I figured it out for you. What? I think you were either a Russian soldier or you were Jewish. And I think that they were coming to take you. And they were coming after you.
Okay, so listen to this.
June 25th. That's when I got that dream. Last year.
He's
That's
talking
when I
about
got
June
it.
25th.
I still remember it, but with this one, it tells the rest. Or there was something that happened that day on June 25th to give you a message. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and you know what's crazy? You have 5 in your birthday.
And you know what's crazy? Okay, so let me just tell you guys this. I'll just tell you what's in the video. He gave me a description of everything in his past life. He said, Mother, he said the Russians were chasing me. He said, I seen something about blue. He said, I seen these black furry hats. He said it was the Soviet Union that was coming to stab me. He said, I lived near the sea. I was some type of sailor or I dealt with some type of ports around the sea. And I looked it up. And the flag he described to me was a green flag with stars around this. And he said that's when he, lived this one life that was very significant, that we had a life together. And he said that he was near like Asia, okay? because he said that he was on the Asian continent. Now, my son is only 11 years old, but he's kind of like, he has a learning disability, so he failed a grade. So in social studies, they are only studying the 50 states of the United States right now. Okay. But this was the place he was talking about, and I'll tell you why I have validation on this. He was describing that he was from Turkmenistan, and they had the star and the moon on their flag, and it was indeed in Asia. And it does say that it was near Iran, Afghanistan, and the Caspian Sea. That's where he lived. He lived near the Caspian Sea. And guess where I was going to war? I was going to Ramadi, Iraq, but you have to land in Afghanistan for 2 weeks before you can go there. Or you have to land in Iraq for 2 weeks before you go to Afghanistan, because you have to do this weather training to get used to the weather. And I was actually going over to that area. Okay. Now, my son tells me, let me find the Russian soldiers around that time, because this is where it gets kind of freaky. Okay. He said that they wore blue with these black furry hats. Now, that is kind of crazy for an 11-year-old to match up this story. Now, also, he tells me in the next part of his story, he said, Mom, he said, I chose you to be my mother. He said, I came back 4 years before I was supposed to. He said, a lady named Diana wanted me to be like a president's daughter. He said, but I came back before my time. He said, and I told Diane, which I'm feeling like he's talking about Princess Diana, because her granddaughter, Prince William's daughter, is only 7 years old. That's 4 years before or after my son got into this world. Forgot to say this in my video that I'm going to add in, that my son told me that he could have came back as a girl, and he said he chose to be a boy, which I wanted a boy. And he said, Mom, he said, I was actually supposed to come in at a later time to be a little girl. He said, but I chose to be a little boy. And he was talking about, I could have been a president's daughter or somebody that's a president or a leader or something like that. He said, but I told Diana that I wanted to choose you. He said, because he said, we were in like this concentration camp together. Mind you, my son does not know anything about the Holocaust. My son said we were in a concentration camp together, and he said there was two lanes. He said there was a safe side, and he said there was a side that was leading you to death. He said I was able to get in the safe side, and he said you had to go to the side that you were going to die. He said, and they put you in a gas chamber. And he said, I was crying because I wanted to save your life and I wanted you to be with me. He said, you were my cousin or one of my good friends. He said, but you were a family member. He said, but we were like cousins, but we were really close. And he said that you went to that gas chamber, and he said, I blame myself for the rest of my life that I couldn't save you. So, I'm getting teary eyed. So, I can get the video. I mean, I can play this to where you all believe me, because this was just so random that he was talking about that night, because I wanted to help him with his nightmares. And he said, you had to go in that gas chamber and I wanted to save your life. Mind you, I went in the gas chamber in the military and I was about to go to war where we had another past life together, and he saved my life. And he said he chose me because he wanted to save me. And that meant a lot. I also want to add that when I went back to check out all this information, it added in so much. It made so much sense. Because where he was telling me he was from, it actually happened. The Russians and the Turkmenistans actually had this war. And to validate this, the next day I'm watching TikTok and I watched this "What in the world is going on" video, and a girl said, "Did y'all know that Turkmenistan got bombed today?" And that was my validation because I'd never heard of that place in my life. And for him to say he had dark hair, yeah, they were like Arabics, they were Muslims. And also, it's weird because I have a lady in a hijab tattooed on my back with Arabic writing up my back. So I think that that's how I connected to that tattoo. And it says on my tattoo, it says, "What is coming is better than what has gone." So my son came into my life, and it was better than that past life in this life. There was a side that was leading you to death. He said, I was able to get in the safe side, and he said, you had to go to the side that you were going to die. He said, and they put you in a gas chamber. And he said, I was crying because I wanted to save your life and I wanted you to be with me. He said, you were my cousin or one of my good friends. He said, but you were a family member. He said, but we were like cousins, but we were really close. And he said that you went to that gas chamber, and he said, I blame myself for the rest of my life that I couldn't save you. So, I'm getting teary eyed. So, I can get the video. I mean, I can play this to where you all believe me because this was just so random that he was talking about that night because I wanted to help him with his nightmares. And he said, you had to go in that gas chamber and I wanted to save your life. Mind you, I went in the gas chamber in the military and I was about to go to war where we had another past life together, and he saved my life. And he said he chose me because he wanted to save me. And that meant a lot. And I'm just so speechless about this. Like, if I play more and more in depth into this video, it's going to shock you. But I just figured I would share this because maybe you might find out why your children come into your life. And he would risk giving up everything from being a president or a leader's daughter to be able to save my life. So I just figured I would share that with you all, and maybe you guys can talk to your children or see if they have any past life memories that may shine light into your situation. So please give me a comment on this video of what you think and give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time.